And finally, the Business of Trucks welcomes a panel of industry-based commentators to speak about some of the key issues affecting the industry. Drunk driving is one of the biggest threats to road safety in South Africa, and with the festive season approaching, the levels of inebriated drivers on our roads, including those of commercial vehicles, is set to soar once again. However, a range of innovative products have been launched recently to combat this ongoing problem. Joining me in studio to tell us more are Paul Collings, freelance journalist and also Fleetwatch magazine's special report correspondent, Louis Swart, the managing director of Drive Report, as well as Colin Sneyman, group sales and marketing director at PFK Electronics. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. We'll start with you, Paul. Obviously, this is the Editors' Forum. So we are, I mean, I know it's September. I've seen the first Christmas tree in a mall the other day. We are heading into that season.
Sure. And what a season it is. Just on a truck accident-related front, we're looking at a fatality rate of over 150 people just in the December holiday period. So if you extrapolate that over a year, you're looking at truck accidents killing 1,000 or so people every year, which, taken in perspective, when you're looking at the overall death toll on our roads, which numbers around 15,000 annually, it might not seem so much. And if you look at the causes behind those accidents, you'll see that it's predominantly motorists who cause the truck to crash. So I think what we need to put things in perspective and say that I think our truck drivers do a good job under the circumstances, that they're sharing the roads with a whole lot of drunk motorists, predominantly. Bear in mind that they are professionals, that their livelihood depends on how they behave behind the wheel. That said, I think the onus rests on the owner of the truck, the fleet operator, to ensure that he has all the necessary mechanisms in place, if you want. He has a management infrastructure that relies heavily on technology, relies heavily on motivation of the driver, and most importantly on ongoing skills training, driver training, and reward systems that are financial.
Yeah, very, very good way to go forward. And I think, Paul, just a quick message to our Minister of Transport. I think one death on our roads is too many.
Absolutely.
Louis, as far as looking at the habits of drivers and things like that are concerned, I mean, this is something that your company does. We all know those decals on the back of trucks, with the report number. You know, that's something we're familiar with, but we're not actually familiar necessarily with just how much goes on in the background in terms of reporting back to operators.
Yeah, we firmly believe that one of the key issues in managing the chaos on the road is that to establish accountability with the driver. At the moment, an accountability relationship doesn't really exist. We can track the drivers through technology, track the vehicle. However, we need to be in a position to either admonish or reward or see exactly what his driving style is. And through public feedback, which is Drive Report, and through Drive Cam, which is the video or incident recording system, we feel we answer that need.
Now that's interesting because it's, I think you call it the Hawthorne effect.
That's right.
Where the driver is being watched and that we're all more cautious if we're being watched. I think we all slow down for speed cameras, we know, it's that kind of idea. But the Drive Cam, it records 12-second clips and sends them on.
The Drive Cam unit, which is installed in the cab and mounts to the windscreen, it views through two lenses, one on the road ahead and one inside the cab. However, it is triggered by erratic movement of the vehicle. It's not constant recording. And the inertia change or erratic driving triggers the camera. The camera does pre-record, and when the trigger happens, it's in a position to show us what happened prior to the activation, answering the questions we always ask: what happened before the time? Was it really a dog that ran in the road, or was it just a bad driving style that caused the accident? And Hawthorne is an established industrial psychology syndrome, which was investigated by the Harvard Business School in the early 1920s, when the first stage of industrial psychology started. And it essentially states that where a person is being made aware of being watched or under eyes, it can and does influence his behavior, and generally, if used correctly, to the positive.
Okay, we're all talking about behaviour and obviously the tie-up with technology there. PFK Electronics, a company that has been in this game for quite a while, but we know it more from the auto watch, the alarm systems and so forth. But this new alcohol system, we heard it talked about a couple of years ago, being brought in Europe and tested in Scandinavia and places like that. As far as the driver obviously getting in and having to be tested before driving the truck. So what's the kind of uptake that we're seeing? I know you got an Auto Mechanica Silver Innovation Award earlier this year. Well done on that. But as far as the uptake, as far as this kind of technology is concerned here?
Mark, we've been exporting the product mainly to Nordic countries and European countries where there seems to be more social responsibility, although some of those countries are looking at legislating that this has become a requirement in all their trucks, buses, public transport. We've just launched the product in South Africa and therefore the earlier award. The product that we're selling into Europe is a portable unit which we find might not be suitable for the South African conditions and also the extreme temperature conditions in South Africa where the truck cabs can get up to 80 degrees Celsius. So you have to accurately measure alcohol at that level. It takes some technology. The product is simply that. It's blow before you go. So the driver has to give a sample before he starts the vehicle, and then en route the unit can take or ask for random samples as well to make sure he's not drinking while he's driving.
Now, obviously, we have strict legislation with regards to drink driving levels, but you're saying there's no legislation that, or we would have to have legislation that means these have to be installed in a truck?
Make it compulsory to have it installed in public transport or fleet systems as such. So we are talking to the Department of Transport, and it's obviously not a quick process. So far, it's basically companies wanting to protect their assets and reduce their risk that are looking at having these units installed.
It is all about that risk. I mean, Paul, this is something that I think is very, very crucial in terms of trying to make our roads safer because, I mean, you mentioned it earlier as well, the issue out there on the roads is also a perception issue. I mean, car drivers, they perceive truck drivers, as not driving safely, speeding in 80 zones in our current roadworks and all the rest of it. But how far do you think we can take this kind of technology?
I think we can go all the way with it. I think that operators need to invest, they need to spend in order to save, first of all, talking about the bottom line. I think that safety is essentially a profitable way, it's a route to profitability. The safer you are, the less risk you incur, the lower your operating expenses. So by investing in technologies like the ones we have on show here today, enables operators to, first of all, manage their staff better, know exactly what's happening with their mobile assets while they're out there on the road, and increase public safety. So ultimately reducing their risk and their operating expenses. So I think that there's a gamut of technologies out there. These are just two of them. There's the tracking stroke fleet management systems, et cetera, that need to work together. There's got to be, first of all, an integrated mindset on the part of the fleet owner, that he's got to know that all of these things need to work together and point in one direction. And
yes, we need to change a lot of the factors that are involved in creating a much safer road for all of us. Yeah. Paul Collins, Louis Swart and Colin Snowman, thank you very much for joining us. Well, on that safety-conscious note, we end this edition of The Business of Trucks. Join me, Mark Smythe, on the last Monday of every month for a look at what's happening in this important lifeline within Africa's economy. As always, we welcome your comments, queries and suggestions. So to give feedback on our show or find out how to subscribe to Trucks and Heavy Equipment magazine, do email us at the address on screen. We'd certainly love to hear from you. But from me and the CNBC Africa team, it's goodbye.